Welcome to today's webinar presented by Supercoder.com. Supercoder.com is an online coding solution offering Part A and B coding reference tools, resources, and not more than 30 specialty coding and compliance newsletters from the Coding Institute in one site. I hope you enjoy this short session.
In order to support that EM code, and then also when to use any kind of associated V code that's connected to associated ADD services. And by capturing all the allowed services, then we're going to have cleaner claims, fewer denials, and that in turn is going to also allow us to protect our pay by making sure that if we're ever audited, our records support what we've actually coded, that we have proper counseling documentation, and that we're using the other possible ADD-related codes, 90862 and M0064, or an EM code when we should. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the problem with getting pay sometimes and how mental health carve-outs basically eliminate any of our insurance EOBs and payments that we're expecting to get. So let's go ahead and get started on slide 3 with how do we report pre-ADD diagnoses. Right now in ICD-9, there is not actually a pre-ADD diagnosis. So if the teacher sees that they suspect ADD, they send in a report, ask for an evaluation of the child, or adult comes in and they're experiencing what could be pre-ADD signs or symptoms, but that ADD diagnosis is not actually made at that visit. What do you report? What ICD-9 code do you use? You don't want to label the patient with ADD until the provider has confirmed that diagnosis. And that initial assessment may be performed on either a new or an established patient or at the request of another physician or an appropriate source. So it could be the teacher, as I mentioned, a school nurse, a psychologist. And typically these assessments require one or more lengthy visits to complete a comprehensive history or examination, perform or order testing, and determine a differential diagnosis. So this might be one visit, and then the diagnosis is actually made at the subsequent one, or it could be one combined one. After the diagnosis is made, then a treatment plan must be developed, and counseling or coordination of care may be needed. The EM code reported is going to depend on the type of service provided, whether it's a new patient, established patient, if you're not talking about Medicare or a plan that disallows consultations, it could be a consultation code, as well as you're also going to look at the key components, the history, the physical exam, the medical decision-making that's performed for that EM service and documented. So for our ICD-9 code that we link to that EM service with, we can use the sign and or symptom that prompted the visit. So this could be nervousness, irritability. And the reason that we use a sign or symptom and that this is actually correct coding is the official ICD-9 coding guidelines specify that codes that describe symptoms and signs are acceptable for reporting purposes when a related definitive diagnosis has not been established. So until you have that definitive diagnosis of ADD, you can use one of these ICD-9 codes that are listed on slide 4. As I mentioned, nervousness, irritability, these are in the 799.2 range. One thing you want to be really careful about is that 799.51, which reads attention or concentration deficit, seems like a shoo-in for this missing kind of ICD-9 code. But if you look at the actual subsection that you're in for 799.51, it specifies that this code range is for attention or concentration deficit, cognitive deficits that are related to a traumatic brain injury or neurological condition. So that's not appropriate to use for ADD or an ADHD pre-diagnosis.
Supercoder is the fastest growing online reference tool with more than 25,000 subscribers. Call 866-228-9252 to get a free product demo or sign up at supercoder.com for a 7-day free trial.